Hey guys, welcome to BP the Bible Perspective. What can black people learn from Tiffany's firing? Now, before we get into it, please like and share this video and subscribe to BP the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comments section below. All comments are welcome, and please hit that subscribe button that you see on the lower right hand. Now, in a surprise move that took everybody by surprise, MSNBC cut ties with Tiffany Cross early Friday. I think the news came out actually a little earlier, but the news was that she was fired from her weekend show, The Cross Connection. I want to deal with this issue here from this perspective. What can black people learn from her firing? Now, I'm saying that because Tiffany, and I'm going to, for this context, I'm going to use this phrase. Tiffany is unabashedly black. And what I want to say is that unabashedly black is at the root of her getting fired. So my question would be, what can black people in Tiffany's shoes or positions, what can they learn from her firing? Because I think there is something to be learned. And I'm going to apply this to almost every aspect of our lives. Now, one of the other kind of baffling things that there were, as I was listening to different comments by different black men, that they kind of gloated in Tiffany being fired, which I didn't quite understand. I mean, they just really didn't like. I think Tiffany's outspokenness. It seems that they took Tiffany opinions as a direct attack against black men. That's probably. I'll save that for another. I'll save that for another kind of topic. Now, the reason why, again, that I'm kind of dealing with Tiffany's firing in this manner, and I'm reading from some excerpts from some of the articles. And here it is in one of the articles. It says, Tiffany Cross didn't want to leave MSNBC. Now, that statement, to me, is why I want to unpack what can we learn from her firing. And I keep this in mind, she didn't want to leave. Now, it says here, the outspoken weekend anchor whose show was canceled early Friday by the NBC Universe on cable outlet said in a statement Friday night that her free-wheeling, outspoken style was on the mark for a disruptive era in politics and indicated she would continue her work somewhere else. Now, that term, free-wheeling, outspoken, let's plug in there unabashedly black. Because I don't think it was just the fact that she was free-wheeling and outspoken. I believe she was free-wheeling, outspokenly, unabashedly black. Now listen to this statement. It says, I am disheartened to learn of MSNBC's decision to cancel my show, The Cross Connection, at such a crucial time, 4 days before the midterm elections, Cross said while spotlighting the program's ratings. And we were intentional about centering marginalized voices of a rising majority and from all communities of color. Now, this phrase, marginalized voices from a rising majority, that's unabashedly black. In other words, she's speaking boldly about black issues. Okay? I'll come back to that. Now, some of the her show was doing well, as you know, when you compare it to an MSNBC ratings level. MSNBC is one of the lowest rating cable outlets Fox News is the highest, and they kill all of the others. But it says, at partial issue, according to people familiar with the matter, are on-air volleys between Cross and commentators like Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly. Now that is even more telling here. It tells me what you're dealing with people like MSNBC. Now, all this I want you to keep in mind because I want to come back and unpack this. It says, who have criticized the MSNBC anchor's views, talking about Carlson and Kelly, who has criticized the MSNBC anchor's views in recent months, sometimes sparing across to retort. MSNBC executive felt the segments were not up to standards, whatever standards that is. But Cross supporters wondered why the network didn't do more to shield her from the criticism, and that's valid. Why is MSNBC responding to what Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly says? Okay, you know, now she has. When we talk about Megyn Kelly, now Megyn Kelly was a former Fox host, and then she, in a bizarre move, in my case, a few years ago, went to MSNBC and had her talk show. She wanted to be, you know, a talk show host, but she wanted to be a talk show host with a talk show. And again, I'll even say this because I'm just now thinking about this. What I'm saying here also could apply to a person like Megyn Kelly. Now, Megyn Kelly was almost, you can almost say she was queen on Fox News. She had one of the top rated shows. In fact, her show was growing so that she was even edging out not Bill O'Reilly, but Sean Hannity. And of course, when you go back to that particular period of time, a lot of stuff began to happen with sex scandals and sex harassment scandals at Fox News. And then I think Kelly also had aspirations beyond Fox. Now, I'm going to say this, and I think that it's kind of interesting that Fox News is almost like adult entertainment in this respect. It is hard for an adult entertainer to make the transition from adult film star to regular film. Rarely does that happen. And the same for the toxic nature of Fox News, for a person to go from Fox News to mainstream media. And Megyn Kelly was one of those who could not make the transition. And one of the reasons why is because of her extreme views, and a lot of times racist views. What got her fired from her NBC show was racist statements about blackface. How, well, she didn't see the big deal about blackface. She grew up with blackface. What's the big deal on this? And at Fox News, remember, she became infamous for her statement that Jesus is white and Santa Claus is white. Now, when you also talk about Tucker Carlson, he almost just drapes with the white supremacy cape uniform. I mean, it's just unbelievable, some of the statements he made. But of course, he can make them on Fox News. It's just kind of again, some of the statements he made is just too long to go into. But again, we're talking about white supremacists. So my thing is, why would MSNBC cower to the likes of Carson and Kelly? Now, Tiffany has also had run-ins with different other people. Meghan McCain, Bill Maher, who at this point I'm wondering if Bill Maher just should come out of the conservative closet. But again, MSNBC, to me, they're just cowards. And I think hiding behind that cowards is a lot of racists themselves. So now this comes to my question, and I think it's important again to kind of go back, because when we look at some of the issues here, that they would fire Tiffany. And by the way, it wasn't that. Oftentimes these were issues that Fox News would attack Tiffany on, and she would clap back. Now, with that said, I don't know what some of the black men have against her, why they don't like her. I know in some cases she has criticized some black men and some of their perspective. Okay, maybe fair enough on that respect. But I want to go back and read a couple of statements. When she says, "I am disheartened to learn that MSNBC decision to cancel my show." So she didn't want to leave MSNBC. She liked that platform. Okay? And so that's what I wanted to talk about, because she wanted to be there. So now let's kind of unpack that. Because now what I'm saying, when black people say they like a platform or something like that, they want to be a part of a platform, I think we need to understand then what is the arena in which we are engaging. And especially as black people who are trying to navigate in a white society. Now, let me give you an example. The first black president, Barack Obama, who exploded on the scene in early 2004, and then he, of course, ran overwhelmingly, made the presidency. But people forget that during the early days of his campaign, a lot of the black leaders did not support Barack Obama because they wanted him to be more Afrocentric. They wanted him to concentrate on more black issues, speak out on reparations and things like that. And while black leaders, civil rights leaders and activists, while they can focus on issues like that, when you're running on a national platform, those issues cannot be your only issue. See, an Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson can focus on solely black issues. And sidebar, Al Sharpton had been on MSNBC now, I think for almost 10 years. And I don't know why, but that's just my opinion. But he doesn't really focus on black issues on his show. He does some, but he can't just narrow his focus on black issues, reparations and things like that, or any kind of civil rights issues. He deals with them. But they try to force Barack Obama to just kind of, they were criticizing him because he wasn't, again, that Afrocentric, dashiki wearing guy, power to the people, right? And here's the thing. Had he listened to them, he wouldn't have won. Because in general, white people don't have to listen to that. It's not their thing. And I'm not even saying that's a bad thing or a good thing. It's just, it's not their thing. Whatever you may be passionate about, it doesn't mean that other people are as passionate about it. And so if you wanted to win the presidency over 300 million people, in which black people only make up 13% of that, the voting block of black America is even less, you have to focus on greater, and I mean not greater, but wider variety of issues. You have to reach everybody. And so Barack could not just say, hey, let's just only talk about reparations, to only talk about slavery, let's only talk about, police brutality and racism and all that. He had to also talk to what? His audience. Now, when we also think about, now, black people that are on mainstream platforms. Okay, and Tiffany, um, I thought, in my opinion, I thought she was a excellent journalist. I thought you could trust her facts. Um, I didn't see her as the outspoken, angry black woman, but at the same time, she was strong, and why wouldn't she be? And shame on NSNBC. Okay, shame on NSNBC um, for cowering to the likes of Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson, because their attacks were worse. See, their attacks were worse. So now let's get back to the issue or the question. What can we learn from Tiffany's firing? So how do we navigate on these kind of platforms? If you were to be in Tiffany's shoes going on MSNBC, how about this? How about the very, very few anchors that go on Fox News? See, their scope is even narrower. Why? Because no way would they ever kind of come out and express the kind of issues that Tiffany would express. Why? Because Fox News audience is predominantly white with a white point of view. And yes, even racist. So if you are a black anchor on Fox News, right, you're gonna tread lightly. Now, MSNBC is supposed to be. See, they're supposed to be liberal. But even Hollywood is one of the most racist areas that you could work in. You think about the history of Hollywood and how they presented the image of black people. And remember who is controlling these images. Now the same thing with MSNBC, they wanted to control a certain narrative. And people like Tiffany Cross doesn't fit in that narrative. And here's the thing, black people have to realize that. If you want a job on MSNBC, hey, I don't think that a person should be criticized if they're not as outspoken as Tiffany Cross. The other person a lot of people are familiar with, Roland Martin. And I got the term unabashedly black because that's one of his statements. Now, Roland Martin is a seasoned journalist, but couldn't make it on CNN. Couldn't make it on like ABC. Why? Because, in my opinion, he's unabashedly black. So, like what Roland is doing now, developing his own social media networks where he could be unabashedly black, that's what Tiffany's going to have to do. And I think when we navigate in every area of life, we're going to have to understand that whether you are a janitor, whether you are a CEO, whether you're a business owner, if you want to be successful and you want to kind of have a wider audience, wider consumer base, you gotta expand, not just to say I'm unabashedly black. Now, if you want to be unabashedly black, and again, there are plenty of people out there who are unabashedly black in their platform. Like I said, what we call activists, what we call civil rights leaders whose scope in their life, okay, their scope in life is to work for black causes. They can afford to be unabashedly black. They can afford to only speak on black issues. I think the lesson here that if For example, if Tiffany wants to say work at ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, right? Then will she have to tone down being unabashedly black? Absolutely. Now, if she chooses not to be, and remember, she didn't want to leave NSNBC. And like Megyn Kelly, who when she was on her NBC show, she tried to bring her conservative views, and that's being lightly, but her conservative views that she was used to on Fox News, she was trying to bring that to NBC, to an audience that don't like Fox News. That's why Megyn Kelly failed on NBC. She didn't fail at Fox News. She probably should have stayed at Fox News because she was queen there. She was number 2 next to Bill. But you see, sometimes we have to calculate more. We have to have, in other words, when she came. Now, by the way, don't cry for Megyn because I think she left with an extremely a large amount of severance money there. But in her case, it was more ego. She wanted to be on that platform where she could have a national known talk show host. She just simply wanted to bring the Republican conservative viewpoint to MSNBC, and it wasn't going to happen. The audience wasn't going to have it. My point is, we just have to think more and say, what is it that, if I'm going to be in this, platform? I'll give you one more example. This goes back years. There is a Christian. Now you can call him an apologist, Kirk Cameron. He was on the show Growing Pains. I believe the name of the show was Growing Pains. And he started off, the show was a hit. He was making money. And he became a born-again Christian. And when he became a born-again Christian, he tried to bring his Christian view to the show. And he would argue with them over certain roles that he felt as a Christian he shouldn't engage in. Finally, one of the co-stars, Alan Thicke, pulled him aside and said, look, if I understand you're a Christian, that's fine, but if you want to kind of pursue that, then you need to pursue a Christian platform. And of course, there are Christian platforms out there now. As far as television show and media, they're horrible. However, somebody like Kirk, he has done Christian movies where he could portray and act in a Christian perspective. The problem was that when he became born again, he was trying to bring that Christian point of view to Hollywood, and he was, and he kind of resisted some of the way that they wanted to take his character. That just didn't work. So my point is that what we can learn is to understand the platform and how what we are bringing to that platform, is it going to work or not? And I think with Tiffany, she's her unabashedly black, right? Over outspoken, her outspoken way, I think, just didn't fit for MSNBC. It didn't fit. So now she'll be fine, in my opinion. She's great because she wants to bring marginalized voices to the forefront. She just can't do it on MSNBC. She just can't bring it there, okay? All right, guys, look, that's my perspective. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. What are your thoughts on this? Add your comments. All comments are welcome. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Till next time, I'll see you then.